You can have all the best fuel in the world, but if you have this negative outlook on life and you think that something's wrong and you're always focused on that, that will literally change your physiology. That will change your immune system. That will change cell function. You can make yourself sick with thought.
Our next guest, Ryan Encinas, is a former practicing surgical nurse who has participated in almost every kind of surgery. Disillusioned with traditional medical care, he started to focus on metabolic health, pioneering a platform to connect individuals with trusted health practitioners and diverse modalities, aiming to shift the focus from disease management to health optimization.
When we measure people's carotenoid antioxidant status, which we've done 28 million tests, 99% of people don't measure up. 99% of the population is starving at the cellular level.
Hi, my name is Chris Burris. I'm a longevity expert and the chief scientist at a lab focused on a longevity molecule. My primary focus is to help people live longer and better lives with science. Make sure to subscribe and share so you and your friends can live longer and better, so you and your friends can live beyond the norms.
Hi, and welcome to the next Live Beyond the Norms Health and Longevity podcast. Our next guest, Ryan Encinas, is a former practicing surgical nurse who has participated in almost every kind of surgery. He started his career here in Houston, that's where we're based, at the famous MD Anderson Hospital. Disillusioned with traditional medical care, he started to focus on metabolic health, pioneering a platform to connect individuals with trusted health practitioners and diverse modalities, aiming to shift the focus from disease management to health optimization. He works with a BioPhotonic Scanner as a representation of a user's carotenoid antioxidant status. He is here today to share his story and the importance of carotenoids in our diet. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Chris, thank you for having me. Excited to be here and help provide some education and access to some amazing modalities for health and cell function.
Excellent. So before we jump into your area of expertise, I like to go further back, like much further back. What was it like growing up as little Ryan? Where did you grow up? What were your parents like? If there was some event or someone you could pinpoint as the reason you would ultimately become an entrepreneur or a champion of health, what or who would that be?
I would say that is my general curiosity and gratitude. Always fascinated from a little child of how the world works, watching David Attenborough, National Geographic, Jacques Cousteau, PBS. My parents were extremely young, born on the beaches of Ventura, California. And my mom separated, grew up in Houston. I thought it was normal to fly back between Houston and LA, these two huge cities full of cultural diversity. And growing up in that way really exposed me to a lot. And then I got into nursing because I wanted to help people. But the entire time deeply interested in philosophy and science and spirituality and physics, and I just want to understand how things work. I think our experience, the human body, the universe, the world, the eco is a system, not all these different symptoms. So connecting these dots throughout my life and seeing how these systems work was just kind of something that always made sense to me. And that's why I got into nursing in the healthcare system. I wanted to help people and understand the human system, but then also understanding your psychology ties into that, your belief system. So not specifically one moment, just understanding that I was working in a broken system and that I could have a far greater impact helping people with really the only one disease out there, and that's cellular dysfunction caused by two things: deficiency and toxicity.
So it's often the case, right? I've known a number of nurses through my life that you get into nursing because you're trying to help and heal people. Mm-hmm. Like when you look at your childhood, was there any space where you were actually the healer early on, or where you were actually jumping into that role?
Absolutely. I was only child. And so my mom was very young. She was 18 when she had me. And she moved in with her parents, my grandparents. They helped raise me. So being an only child around a lot of adults, you tend to pick up energy of what people are saying, how they're saying it. And you could pretty much tell as a deep empath if someone's blowing smoke or not. And I kind of have a big nose. Like I like to say, the nose knows. It's an energetic thing where I just used that as a way to adapt and survive. And in a time when I didn't have brothers and sisters or wasn't around a lot of other children for frequently. And that helped me understand people more. And I think we're also starved of authenticity, that we fall victim to whoever's speaking the most passionately and using words we don't understand. So tapping into that personally on a personal level, just what is this person saying? Do they feel like they have good intentions or not? And that's always mattered the most to me, to my own detriment, where I tried to service other people's feelings more than my own, and learning how to speak up for my own radical ownership. Hey, this is what I need emotionally. This is what I need physically. And that was the huge turning point in my journey, if there was one, is the radical ownership of saying, I'm not a victim of circumstance or anything else. Everything in my life is by my choosing, and I'm the only one that's in my own way to do it. That's a hard pill for everyone to swallow.
Yeah, yeah. There's the way I kind of stated is like, I have some good news for you and some bad news for you. The bad news is that everything that's not going the way you want it to is entirely your fault. And the good news is that everything that's not going the way you want it to is entirely your fault. Because if it was somebody else's fault, you can't do anything about it. And so that radical ownership, that can be a very tough pill to swallow. All right, so you start getting into traditional medicine, right? You're going down nursing. Where'd you go to school? What did that, being in surgical rooms, what did that feel like? No, most of this audience has never been in a surgical room, at least conscious.
Yeah, yeah.
What is that like? What is that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I joke with patients, and as we're reeling back, it's like, I know this is a strange place for you, but it's my everyday office.
Mm.
And I kind of relate it to going on a plane and getting into the airport. There's all these procedures and protocols and long lines. So there's a lot of hurry up and wait when you go to the airport. There's a lot of hurry up and wait when you come to the hospital and check in, sign your life away on everything that could go wrong in surgery, and change your gown, and you're in a waiting area. Then you get shuffled in by me to the surgery with this large room, bright lights. There's a whole team back there waiting, and I like to make it personable and tell my patients, there's a party back there, and you're our star. We're waiting for your arrival. And it's our pre-flight checklist. We do this every time. It's the same thing as taking off. And that's what it's really like. There's a lot of prep time before opening up all these supplies and instruments, making sure we have everything around us in the event that something could go wrong. It's a lot of planning, and there's rules and regulations that we actually have to document for all this stuff to start surgery. And that's primary function. If I'm not scrubbed in, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, it's a whole different world where we have sterile procedure, and it's just like any other job. There begins to be a workflow. And we just run through our workflow and make sure that our patients are safe, because that's the priority, is do we have a safe, successful surgery, removing a cancer, removing a tumor, replacing someone's joint or injury. That's kind of what that situation is like. And anywhere that you can infuse a little love and personality, I think it is great, because you are not in control in that situation. You're being put to sleep, whether you like it or not. Like, anesthesia has a 100% track record. Everyone goes to sleep. They are undefeated. And I'm the anesthesia, and me. We're staring over you, and I'm the last face you see, with my hand on your shoulder, telling you it's okay. Or, are you a beach person or a mountain person? Let's pick out your positive place, and let's go there before you drift off into dreamland and then time travel and wake up and surgery's done.
So I love your analogy of the airplane, right? Because I feel like in the airplane, that is almost like it's just time passes, and you're, maybe watching a movie or whatever. It's obviously you're awake, but it is this clip of time that has almost no meaning, right? Like, yeah. And there's some danger involved, right? Like, everyone has that sense of danger, and certainly true of every surgery. What's kind of so you just mentioned kind of cutting out cancers. You mentioned doing joint replacements. What's maybe the toughest surgery that you've seen in your career?
Highly individualized, because everyone has a different emotional bandwidth. So the toughest surgery is for an individual that's afraid, that feels out of control, or feels like they're at death's door. So those are the ones where I really get to pour my heart out. And I get to have affirmations in there, pray for them as they're going to sleep, and putting that good energy into them and really trying to reassure them and let them know that they're okay. Whatever's going to happen is what exactly needs to happen. But children are always the harder spot too. There's, doing cancer surgery, and there's tough moments when you're just having a really tough situation where you're facing death, and that's never easy for anyone. And it's a part of life, but this is why I think it's so important to establish your belief system, and so you understand what you actually believe in, instead of when you're faced with adversity having to figure out what you believe in. And that's why these big life events tend to really radically change people, because they're forced to take some ownership, forced to figure out, what do I actually believe in? Do I believe in an afterlife? Do I believe in a soul? Do I believe in love, period? And do I believe I'm safe is the biggest thing. And those are coping mechanisms. Do we learn how to make sure that we feel safe in our body? Emotion, there's no wrong emotion. We need to feel all of our emotions. And that's perfectly fine. It's when we feed those emotions and get into more of a spiral downward and feeding fear and a negative emotion, instead of just acknowledging it and saying it's okay. I mean, I have a newborn child. There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of less sleep, so we don't have the regulation that we normally do, and it's tough. We got to acknowledge those emotions, and that's the hardest part. So I wouldn't say any type of surgery specifically, just the emotional state of a patient.
Well, first, congratulations on the newborn. Like, that's an amazing experience. I have twins. They're 14 years old now. And what a fantastic answer, right? What's the toughest surgery? It has nothing to do with the procedures or processes you're going through. It has everything to do with the mindset and emotions of the patient going into it. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so you're in this allopathic medicine, and your sleeves are rolled up in actual surgeries, and then there's a change. Like, walk us through how you get from, because ostensibly you could still be in that space and still be doing surgeries, but you've made a shift. Talk about like what drove that.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for surgery. There's a time and a place for allopathic measurement. If I get hit by a car or I have a deadly infection, like, yes, treat me. But the problem is we're in a broken system where we overutilize those things for profit. And that's what I saw. The whole time that I was in my entire life, I've been interested in nutrition and cell function. So always studying this stuff and understanding the more and more that you look at insulin resistance, you look at Alzheimer's, you look at oxidized LDL and plaque buildup, it all stems from nutrient deficiency. And then you start looking into drug discovery scientists, and I work with the man who invented statins. I work with the founder of the company invented Rapamune, immunosuppressant therapies. They were studying nutrition, plant. They're inspired by nature. So that was the big shift after being a director of surgical services and seeing medical fraud, seeing unfair billing and things like this that were really impacting people's lives in a negative way. It's like, well, how can I help prevent people from being here? And I couldn't do that in the system. So I had to go back to school to understand some biochemistry, some cell function, and a little bit of genetics, and start my own coaching consulting business a couple of years ago, where I was just seeing clients one-on-one. Let's talk about your diet, your lifestyle, your mindset. Let's work on these things. What are your stressors? And that was the big shift in starting to understand that metabolic disease, which is 95% of all diagnosed disease, is caused by nutrient deficiencies and overburden of toxins. So let's start looking at nutrient deficiencies. Let's correct that before we jump on medications that just put a Band-Aid and cause more nutrient deficiencies and have other adverse side effects, further driving metabolic dysfunction, cell function.
So you decide, hey, the system is flawed. I need to make some sort of change. There are all sorts of kind of educational paths you could go down, right? Like functional nutrition. You could have kind of pursued a doctorate in all sorts of things. What path did you go down, and why did you choose that particular path?
It was a lot of different paths. And so it was nursing, it was philosophy, it was spirituality, it was psychology, it was nutrition, it was cell function, it was looking into supplements and how they're made And that was a huge eye opener, and that 99% of what's out there is a lot of BS. People don't have the know-how. They can quote the science behind a study on something, but when it comes to manufacturing something and stability testing, they can't make it the same way, and they're definitely not transparent about sourcing and stability testing to make it to those exact same standards. So as I started to dive into all these areas a little bit at a time, I kind of leveled up over the years where all these things started to build on top of each other, and I started to connect more dots. And it's just fascinating to understand that mindset's not more important than nutrition. Nutrition's not more important than mindset, and they don't work in isolation, right? Everything's a system. The body's a system. You can't outrun bad fuel. It's just as simple as that. You can't outrun bad fuel, no matter how positive you think, and vice versa. You can have all the best fuel in the world, but if you have this negative outlook on life and you think that something's wrong and you're always focused on that, that will literally change your physiology. That will change your immune system. That will change cell function. So you can make yourself sick with thought.
It's a very interesting perspective, because not always, but I ended up doing a longevity summit, interviewed 55 experts, and one of the things that I surmised from all of these longevity experts, with some thought, is that mindset's the most important thing. And my thought process is, because if you need to put your phone down and you need to get your 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep opportunity every night, and you don't have the mindset to do it, like, you're not going to do it. If you need to change your diet and you're not going to do it. There is an interesting thing, which is your mindset doesn't operate in an isolated world. And so there are feedback loops between nutrition and mindset, and sleep and mindset. So very interesting. I think I still land on mindset, but with like these other inputs, like, so, hey, don't, like, if you got the wrong mindset, don't not fix other things, like, see to fix whatever you can, because they're going to support that mindset and that mind shift. I don't know if you've got anything to kind of add to that.
Yeah, so much of our mindset is a chemical thing, right? Like serotonin and dopamine. So your happy hormones are produced in the gut. So your relationship with nutrition is not just you and yourself. It is also the collective intelligence and balance of healthy gut bacteria. So going back to system versus symptom, right? We know that if you're at work or around a lot of people that have a high IQ and are high performers with a positive outlook, then your performance is enhanced greatly. This is well studied in psychology. That same thing applies to your gut bacteria. When you have more of the healthy gut bacteria, a proper functioning gut lining that's only one cell thick in your small intestine, that's your filtration system and your relationship between the outside world, nutritions and toxins, and the entire ecosystem of trillions of bacteria. So the collective intelligence of all of that combined directly impacts your mood, directly impact your ability to think, directly impact your ability to mitigate and manage stress, whether that's emotional or physical. I like to use SHIFT as an acronym. Stress, harmonizing, insights for transformation. Where stress is necessary, right? We have to stress our muscles to grow. Just like a pathway, like if you want to fast for a while, everyone's at a different level and bandwidth of what they can tolerate. You don't run a marathon on the first day, so that you need to build your stress tolerance to these different things. Well, that stress it's a good thing done in the right bandwidth. So that stress can be metabolic, stemming from nutrient deficiency. That stress can be emotional, where you're feeding fear and don't have good coping mechanisms, or you're very reactionary and you're triggered. How do you get out of that trigger responding into a sympathetic versus parasympathetic state? And that stress can also be in your belief system. Do I actually believe that I can heal? Do I actually believe that I deserve to heal, or that I'm loved? So yes, it's the collective intelligence of this whole system that works together.
So that was stress. Was it hormones? Was the H?
No, it was.
I messed it up for you.
You're good. Stress harmonizing.
Harmonizing.
Insights for transformation. So
I like
you're
that.
taking the stressors and you're finding a way to create harmonic convergence, which is physics. Which if you have something humming at 111 hertz over here and something humming at 111 hertz over here, when you get them close enough, it's not a 1+1 thing. They exponentially radiate that frequency more. And that's what homeostasis is. It's this whole system that's harmonizing when you're giving your body all the ingredients, which includes your thought process and your belief system and to every cell to harmonize. That's what health is a frequency that we can measure, which is actually what our device does too. We're tuning into a frequency to measure cell function and health.
Okay, excellent. One last question. So you're kind of going down allopathic medicine is there. You understand its value. You're looking for other things. Were you trying to solve anything for yourself, or was this just the nurse in you that's like, there's got to be a better way?
Oh, no, it starts with yourself, right? Like I'm not saving anyone. I'm helping people shift their perspective and make a more educated decision about what serves them. And there's a lot of different things that work. So what resonates with them the most? I'm no different. Semi-pro athlete. I was a swimmer growing up. I got into bodybuilding and I got out of that and got into semi-pro beach volleyball. So I was always, I want to live long. I want to be healthy. I don't want to get sick. How do I get over these allergies of living in Austin, Texas, where they're rampant, and
Is that possible?
yeah, yeah. And
There's the season where we have this green film over our vehicles, and anybody who's not from Texas, like, this is pollen, and it's impressive, actually.
yeah, people feel like they have the flu, and it's like those are allergies because there's a lot of things that are irritating your mucosa and causing an immune reaction. But yeah, that's where it started, is myself. It's like, how do I heal faster? How do I improve my strength and flexibility? How do I, not be sick? How do I not have issues? And that's where it started from. So deeply understanding my own mind, my own body, and having a greater capacity to forgive myself. That's when my capacity grew to help others in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, so let's get into our kind of topic. What is a carotenoid?
The short answer is color. Is color in nature. So it is why we see flowers that have beautiful colors, fruits and vegetables with all the colors of the rainbow, the purples, blues, greens, oranges, reds, yellows. They are why a cardinal is red, a flamingo is pink, the coral reef has color, fish have color. The glow in our skin is from carotenoids, and they are in all plant life. There are well over 200 types of carotenoids in existence. We keep discovering more. Animals do not make carotenoids. We must consume them, and they become a part of our every cell until they're utilized. In plants, they do an amazing thing. They attract pollinators. First and foremost, we're back to the system, right? So this is the ecosystem. This is how flowers are pollinated, by attracting a bird or an insect with its color and fragrance. The color part is the carotenoid. So a fruit and vegetable is no different. A pollinator is any animal that eats that plant and then spreads the seed. And that's what they're doing, is attracting that. And these colors are signals by nature of nutrient density. To the flower, the insect or bird is coming for the nectar or for the pollen itself. For a fruit or vegetable, they're attracting an animal to give the animal life, vitality, nutrition. So the reason a cardinal is red is because of its carotenoid color. And what is that? That the brighter, deeper red a cardinal is, it signals that it's a strong mate that is healthy. Its vitality is robust. So their color is part of the system. And in plants, at the cell level, these carotenoids do two things. They protect from the damage of the UV radiation, that oxidative stress that's caused by radiation from the sun. The second thing they do is they take that photon of light and they drive it into the cell membrane to initiate photosynthesis. So life would not exist on this planet without carotenoids. In a human cell, they do a very similar thing. They become impregnated, embedded in the lipid bilayer. So every cell is a sphere, and there's a lipid bilayer of fat around the entire cell and all the organelles. Even the mitochondria has its own lipid bilayer cell membrane protecting it. But this lipid bilayer is where all of our receptors are at for hormones and ion channels and self-signaling communication between organs and cells. So these carotenoids become a part of that, and they do two things. They are the first line of defense from free radical damage. When a free radical, an electron, is looking to steal an electron, when that hits a cell membrane, a carotenoid donates an electron. The second thing they do is they increase in function of cell permeability, how everything gets in and out of the cell membrane, bidirectional. So now we're talking about nourishment, how everything gets absorbed into the cell. And this is one of the most impactful ways known to science of how our cells work. So that's the beauty and the poetic system of Mother Nature with color as design to our cell function and vitality.
So you mentioned that carotenoids are not made by animals. So where the cardinal that has red feathers, like it has to be consuming these carotenoids, right? And even the flamenco, who gets it from the shrimp, an animal, the shrimp must be getting it from someplace. Are shrimp just kind of like isolators that isolate the pink pigment, right? Like how does that work? And I don't know. What are the cardinals eating? Because I don't see cardinals out running around eating bright red things, right?
Yeah.
So it just must be accumulated. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, the shrimp are eating bacteria. So those are our famous astaxanthin and some other carotenoids from algae and bacteria. Really powerful stuff. And bacteria are the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, like bar none. And yeah, cardinals, what do they eat? They eat nuts. They eat berries. And that's where they get the carotenoids from.
Yep. And so astaxanthin is a carotenoid?
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. So that brings me to my next question. What are some of the key carotenoids that we're familiar with, the best research ones?
Yeah, the main one that everyone is going to know right off the top of the head is beta carotene and carrots. And boy, are raw carrots great for you. The famous Ray Peat, like Ray Peat salad, carrot salad, using vinegar and salad. Just shred some carrot and some vinegar. It's delicious. Throw a little salt on it. But that's one of the most studied carotenoids. But there are so many. Our device measures 20 that are, essential for cell function. So like lutein is another very famous one, astaxanthin, zeaxanthin, the list goes on. Lutein, one I like, comes from marigold flowers. But there's so many. And, grass-fed beef, regenerative grass-fed beef, they have a little bit of carotenoids in the fat and the marbling of the steak. But this is why you can't just survive. We're omnivores. We need all these different foods. And I like to say you eat the colors, not calories. Calories is a measurement of heat, has nothing to do with nutrient density. And so while you're eating enough protein and healthy fats, you're eating the colors to get all the other minerals, antioxidants, fiber, things that you need in life, because nothing in nature works in isolation. So we need this plethora of ingredients that's like a circuit board for the whole system, the body, the computer system. If you take a little component out of the circuit board, that computer's not going to work as well. That system's going to be flawed. It's missing a component. And so we have our macros, but our micronutrients are just as important because they help with the movement, the enzymatic processes of all those other minerals, vitamins, and other antioxidants.
Is beta carotene and vitamin A similar, the same thing? I don't remember.
Yeah, and this is a heated topic of debate with a lot of misinformation. So beta carotene is a precursor for vitamin A. There's about half a dozen-ish enzymatic processes to convert it into vitamin A, retinol. And so vitamin A is good from animal products. But if you eat enough beta carotene, you get that also. I eat animal products. I have nothing wrong with it. I don't judge people though for their own diet. And it would be not only ethically from a medical standpoint, morally wrong, because with genetic variation, some people come from a lineage of eating plants and some people come from a lineage of eating meat. Or like the Mongolians during summertime, 95% of their diet comes from dairy. So it would be very wrong of me to say, stop eating dairy, or to, vice versa. So there's an efficient way where you can get all the nutrients needed regardless of diet, no matter what. So yes, beta carotene is a precursor to vitamin A. You can convert beta carotene to vitamin A, no problem. And there's actually some newer studies that demonstrate that it is just as effective, if not more effective, than consuming vitamin A on itself alone.
Mm-hmm. I interviewed one guy for the podcast talking about vitamin A toxicity. Have you kind of gone down that rabbit hole and had conversations and have thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, poison's in the dose of anything. So too much oxygen will kill you. Oxygen is actually, on the periodic table, is the second most reactive chemical on the periodic table. The first is fluorine, which a negative ion is fluoride. All right? So poison's in the dose. Too much water is bad for you. Too much of anything is bad for you. But you'd have to try really hard. And this is the problem with taking vitamins in isolation and trying to correct a deficiency with one thing or the other without some professional guidance. That's where you run into these issues. So there's toxicity of anything. You can overdo anything. So we're trying to find that homeostasis, that right balance and flow of, well, and here's the fascinating thing. When we measure people's carotenoid antioxidant status, which we've done 28 million tests, 99% of people don't measure up. 99% of the population is starving at the cellular level. Regardless if it's one mineral, one vitamin, they're not absorbing as much. It's not in our food as much, period. At the end, because of modern farming, because of the toxins we spray in our environment and directly on the crops and then in our water. So toxicity is always a thing. In my experience, people in general are not getting enough to begin with. And that's what all of our data shows. That's why we're working with MIT to get this device out to the masses next year, is to let's correct nutrient deficiency. Let's measure that first. Because everything else is just downstream, all these other lab markers and organ functions and inflammatory markers are downstream of a nutrient deficiency.
Are there genetic people who are genetically kind of predisposed to not process vitamin A because I went down that path, but maybe manage carotenoids very differently?
Carotenoids differently, not so much. I mean, I myself have genetic mutations. I do not absorb as much vitamin A as the average person, and I need a little bit more in my diet. And this is after doing a couple different genetic tests through different companies, working with a genetic specialist, Dr. Tyler Pansner, who's a holistic genetic pharmacologist, who has coursework on MTFHR and histamine pathways and all this kind of stuff. So yes, the fun part is you're not your genes. Genes are a blueprint of instructions, but what is epigenetics? That is the ability to upregulate and downregulate gene expression. We can change gene expression by lifestyle. And a lot of people say, well, I come from a history of diabetic or not absorbing enough vitamin A or all these other things. Well, actually, you come from a history of poor lifestyle choices that are passed down through habit, the best teacher, and that are also reinforced by the media, by television programming, by a medical system that doesn't acknowledge nutrition as treatment, management, or prevention for a diagnosis. We don't measure nutrition, we measure disease, we measure downstream.
So I'm familiar. It sounds like carotenoids are very similar to flavonoids. They even have the oids at the end of it. What are they the same, or what's the difference between carotenoids and flavonoids?
Similar but different. So I got that question recently. Are these? They're a phytonutrient, but carotenoids are kind of its own subsect and category that specifically give that color. We know that they exchange per compound, a molecule of carotenoids, will suffice 30 hits of electrons of free radical exchange. So now we know this is protection at the cell level. It's different than some of the other phytonutrients. It's just like antioxidant is a broad spectrum term. There's a lot of antioxidants, or vitamins. There's a lot of different vitamins. So it's just a category, just like the animal kingdom when you're talking about family, versus species.
Would you, in terms of that we need them? Well, one, would either of these be considered as essential nutrients, carotenoids and flavonoids, and then, or do they kind of sit in the same space in terms of how our body might use them?
A similar space, though they are utilized differently, and the medical system, nutritional sciences have not added anything as essential in decades. So they kind of stopped because it doesn't fit into the whole broken system. If we start telling people all the things that are essential for cell function, then people are going to go get them, and then they're not going to be a paying lifetime member into the system for profit. That's the largest profitable system in America. And we have the most metabolic disease out of every country, which is nutrient deficiency. So are they essential? Yes, because life would not exist on this planet without them.
Hey, super quick break from the podcast. Hopefully you're loving it. This is a way you can support the podcast and then take advantage of a great offer. We're offering 50% off of one of our MCT bottles. MCT is an amazing oil. Add the ESS60 molecule to it. It's even more amazing. All you got to do is leave a review on iTunes. Send us a notification that you've left that review. We'll get you a coupon code. That'll get you 50% off of our MCT oil and free shipping. Back to the podcast.
Do you happen to know, this is just an interesting question, if you happen to know, what was the last thing that was identified as an essential nutrient?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know.
I don't expect you to know that. I was just like, if you did, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember coming across some great research on a compound that's only in mushrooms called ergothioneine. And some of the research said that this might be a new vitamin. But it's been a long time. I want to say it's been since the 60s that they identified things that are quote unquote essential for life.
Yeah. And I think in order to be essential, right, you need it for multiple chemical processes in the body, and your body cannot make it, right? Like those are a couple functions.
And your body cannot make carotenoids.
Yeah. What are the best? You mentioned carrots. Like, what are the best sources of carotenoids? Maybe carrots are really, really good at beta carotene, but not so good at everything else. Is there like some? Everybody's looking for the superfood, right?
Yeah.
Is there a superfood of carotenoids?
Algae for sure, but all your colorful fruits and vegetables. Like you're supposed to eat the rainbow, the real rainbow, not the synthetic Skittles that give you insulin resistance and diabetes and obesity and can increase your risk for Alzheimer's and cancer and cardiac disease. You're supposed to eat the colors. So that's why you eat colors, not calories, because you're going to get all these carotenoids from all these different colors. And those colors are packed with other vitamins, minerals, fibers, and other antioxidants in them. So yeah, all your berries are great. Dark berries, blueberries, everyone knows those. But it's important to get it from other colorful fruits and vegetables. I mean, beets, yes, carrots, eggplant, tomatoes, like all these things eat your greens, they all yellow colored squash, oranges, apples, plums. Those things are delicious, and no one ever, has a toxicity on eating an apple. Try to stuff yourself on an apple, and you're not going to get obese from eating real food. And I help out clients with this that live in food deserts and stuff. People don't have access to, farmers markets or can't afford organic. You're still going to get way more benefit from eating all these colors, in your diet than all the chemicals, because they're going to help your body move those chemicals out. When you have more of these antioxidants, these minerals, the whole system is upregulated. Because let's be honest, not everyone has access to all of these properly grown food.
You mentioned eggplant, tomatoes. Those are considered nightshades. There is some thoughts out there that nightshades aren't good for you. You have any opinion there?
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of people have, not a lot, most of the population has some form of gut dysbiosis. So if your gut lining's not working, if you have leaky gut, your filtration's not working. All your little cells that line the gut layer, it's only one cell thick, they shrivel up like raisins and create these spaces called gap junctions. So that's what causes all these autoimmune issues, is not only are the toxins in our environment getting directly into your bloodstream and impacting your gut microbiome, but your food is not being processed in the correct way. It's not going through the filtration system. It's like if you take your air filter in your house and poke a whole bunch of holes in it, your allergies are going to drive you nuts. There's going to be a lot more stuff circulating in your air. So, I hear this with cruciferous vegetables, and yes, there's some people that have genetic propensity to not tolerate sulfur as well, or some of the lectins and nightshades. But by and large, it's more that your gut's not working, your barrier's not working correctly. So when we start to heal the gut and upregulate all your other nutrients, guess what happens? Your tolerances to foods change. Your preferences to foods change, because your body's like, oh, I'm working right. Let's get more of that good nutrition stuff. Or, oh, all of a sudden I'm craving this and I haven't had this before. Pregnant women, their gut lining closes up and starts to work a little bit better, because the baby stem cells are helping heal mom. That's why they grow so much hair. Their hair gets longer, more thick and voluminous. It's helping every cell in their body. Baby is pushing mom to be more healthy, to nurture them so she can get more of the nutrients that they need to provide growth for that baby in utero. So yes, people are going to have intolerances, and you have to, F around and find out what works for you and what doesn't. But if you can close those gap junctions, you balance out your gut microbacteria, your tolerances to foods are going to change. And I have that people like, I'm allergic to all this for now. Like, yes, I see your report, but that's because your body's saying, whoa, there's too much of this circulating in my bloodstream. I don't have a way to process it. So let's get back to getting your processing, your filtration system correct, and take steps from there.
Very cool. You did mention algae. Is that part of your supplementation? And is there a particular type of algae that you focus on?
It's all good. Like spirulina, cholera, all that stuff is great. Yes, we have extracts that we utilize in conjunction with other minerals and vitamins in product that we know has clinical evidence of increasing vitamin A, vitamin E, zinc, selenium, all that kind of stuff, and increasing your carotenoid levels. So just depends on what we need to target on. There's foundational support, and then there's targeted therapies that we use of natural supplementation that we can target, gut health, and close gap junction with an anthocyanin extract that comes from dark purple fruits and vegetables. The highest concentrations are in bilberry, black rice, and black currant, but it's an extraction. So this is 1,000 times more potent than you can get from just eating it, where it's what traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine is. It's you're preparing the food in a way to create an extraction, and we formulate and do that.
I saw in one study that like 60 to 70% of total antioxidant activity from plant-based foods can be attributed to carotenoids. Do you know where the other 30 to 40% comes from? Like, is that something that's in your knowledge base?
It just comes from the rest of our food. You're getting it from, meat, right? Eggs. Like what else are you eating? These other things, like it has these other antioxidant properties in there. And that's amazing, right? It's like this ecosystem that's designed to work together. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but are flavonoids antioxidants as well? Do you know?
Yeah, they have some antioxidant properties. Green tea, the ECGC in green tea is one of the most powerful antioxidants known to man. We actually have a green tea extract that's like 7 cups of green tea, the polyphenols, right? These are antioxidants, right? It's a species of antioxidant, if you want to look at it that way. And it's 7 cups of green tea polyphenols, ECGC and catechins in one capsule with no caffeine, with no microplastics from the tea bag, with no heavy metal contaminant from the green tea where you don't know how it was grown. And some people just can't drink 7 cups of green tea a day to get that therapeutic dose. It's so powerful. And that green tea, that ECGC, is also a really, really powerful chelator, a heavy metal detoxer. So, it's a binding agent that encapsulates a heavy metal to help put it into your detox pathway so you can remove it through sweat, urine, stool, even when we breathe out, in your hair or your detox pathways. So that's another super potent, well-known polyphenol antioxidant that is not a carotenoid, but is a species of antioxidant.
Okay, excellent. So we've been talking about carotenoids. The BioPhotonic Scanner looks at and measures carotenoids. Talk about the BioPhotonic Scanner.
The amazing device. This is how we're changing healthcare from the inside out, right? We're putting this into clinical settings, into coaches, wellness businesses. It's a non-invasive test that utilizes physics, Raman spectroscopy, the same Nobel Prize winning physics that's in the pulse oximeter, the little red light we put on your finger that measures oxygen in your body in real time. We're not taking blood and sending it off to a lab. If we're just tuning into a different frequency. So that pulse oximeter is tuning into the frequency of oxygen and measuring the reflection of the electrons from that specific wavelength of light. Now we're using a different wavelength of light to measure the reflection off of these 20 carotenoids inside your cell, which impact, if you have high antioxidants, you have low oxidative stress. If you have high antioxidants, you have lower chronic inflammation. If you have high antioxidants, you have high cell membrane functionality. So this is a non-invasive laser that you put on the palm of your hand. Until next year, you'll be putting it on your finger like that behind me. Instantaneous 2-month metric. So this is taking a 2-month level, kind of like your A1C is a long-term measurement of your insulin. This is a long-term data point in real time that is very affordable. On average, it costs $20 to do this test. Some facilities do it for free. Chris, when you're here in Austin and I see you, you'll be doing it for free. And we'll get a systemic measurement. But the NIH developed it. There's over 120 published studies from a Yale 10-year cancer study on the device showing that this is an accurate measurement for risk of cancer. There's independent studies out of Italy with breast cancer survivors showing that if you keep your score in the blue zone, just like being in a blue zone, they have higher life expectancy. 50,000 or higher is blue. We gamified it with colors, right? So 50,000 or higher reduces your risk for cancer, or with breast cancer survivors of that cancer coming back. But this is applied to so many other things. It's in Texas Tech Medical School, or studies with Stanford, and all these studies are available on my website. But we purchased the patent for this device because it validated the nutritional supplementation of what we're doing, and we focused on clinical practices. Every clinical practice you can think of: functional medicine, GYN, pediatrics, surgery, hormone experts, all these different doctors and clinical experts that have been joining the shift of health-centric nutrition metrics, utilizing this device in clinical supplementation to improve carotenoid status and other vitamin antioxidant status, to improve patient outcomes, and also generate cash revenue outside of insurance reimbursement, this whole broken system. And we're the largest R&D for nutritional supplementation in the world, with 70 full-time scientists across 12 PhDs. I've been featured on the Discovery Channel, Dr. Oz, all kinds of stuff. But, new technology is very difficult to implement into medicine. When the pulse oximeter came out, everyone didn't just jump on it. Cholesterol testing came out. Everyone didn't just jump on it. The DEXA scan came out. Not everyone just jumped on it. It took a while to make that change. And now, because of conversations like this and, the lockdown and everything that's happened, people are finally really taking a different approach and acknowledging the importance of nutrition, like your vitamin D levels and all these things. But here's a way to look at a truly preventative diagnostic that's affordable, that everyone will be able to get their hands on very soon.
So it sounds fascinating. It's looking at 20 carotenoids, right?
Yeah.
Do you see, so I know you had a booth at the A4M Longevity Fest, and so you're, I'm sure, scanning lots of people. How long does the scan take?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. So you're doing these 30-second scans. Do you see vegetarians like outperforming carnivores?
Oh yeah. By and large, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Austin's a very carnivore centric place, a lot of health place, and there's an echo chamber of influences and all this stuff. And I eat meat, I eat eggs, but you might feel better initially getting away from processed foods. But long term, you need a diverse diet. The more diversity you have in your diet, the more beautiful your garden is. The garden's really not a beautiful place if it's all just one flower, It's an ecosystem, and nutrition is not looked at as fuel, right? It is fuel, but these nutritional components become a part of the cell. They literally become a part of us. So it's not just like a car where it runs out and it's gone. The fuel would be rebuilding the tires, the suspension, the roof, the windows, and that's just not how the human body works. So there are some carnivore people that still eat their berries and still eat carrots. They're going to score better, much better. But then it's
so a low score on this device. I mean, one solution, right? Because you've got kind of correlations with cancer risk, with other. You mentioned one other type of risk. I didn't jot it down. Could just be an indicator. Hey, you need to eat more vegetables, like just to increase your vegetable consumption. Have you played around like personally, and you've probably worked with people like where, hey, we're just going to add 2 more cups of XYZ and see the impact that it has?
100%. I'll work with people. Some people just need a little bit more guidance and hand holding. And it's like, well, what fruit do you enjoy? Because fruit's just as important as vegetables, and a lot of times people enjoy fruit more. So I say, what's your favorite fruit? When's the last time you had it? I'm like, oh, long time. It's like, well, let's start there. You like apples, you like oranges. Let's eat both of those every day. Have 1 apple, have 1 orange a day. Tell me how you feel in a couple weeks. And when they get rid of that processed food and start eating natural food the way it's designed in nature, you're going to have so much more health benefit. So yes, I do see that a lot in people with their scores increasing drastically by getting off processed food and eating more colors. And then it's a money back guarantee to get your score up with proper supplementation.
And is a big part of the supplementation carotenoids? Like carotenoids, so are the supplements like very colorful pills or
a lot of them are dark. Yes, like dark, because it gets complex. Like our foundational support has like 50 ingredients, so it's very complex to provide clinically stable ingredients when you have that level. But yes, that's like a 4-pill thing with different colors. And yeah, it's not like a rainbow thing. That would be cool marketing, but we're not going to add a bunch of hazardous dyes and stuff just to make it
oh,
look
come
that way.
on, it would be so much prettier, and and you could get your kids to do it. And
Yeah,
needs
like
to
our
look like a
Fruit Loops.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. What a great kind of combination of being able to scan and have some assessment, and then have that correlated to actual disease, and then be able to also kind of see that scan result change over time with your diet, with your supplementation. I think that's really fantastic, and we'll make sure to get share some links so that people can kind of dig in further, because this has really been an amazing conversation. But we do have to get to our wrap-up questions. So Ryan, first wrap-up question: do you have a target age that you want to live to?
I think I will live past 120.
120. Okay, and how long do you think humans can live?
A very long time. I think,
throw a number.
yeah, I'll throw a number out there and say 200 years.
200. I like it. And then what are 2 to 3 protocols, habits, mindsets, let's call them shortcuts, because really everybody loves shortcuts, for longevity and a long health span that you would share?
Colors, not calories.
I like that.
Calories are a measurement of heat, has nothing to do with nutrient density. So eat your colors, eat your proteins, your healthy fats, fibers, and eat colors. The other one is your mindset. You know, that's is just as important as your diet, and that's actually, you know, what the word diet breaks down to.
So colors, not calories, mindset. You got one more?
Diet. Diet is, by definition, way of life. Diet translates, the etymology of the word diet is, I have a plan, I have a purpose. Everything that I assimilate and take in that makes me breathe easier, restrict all else, then my purpose is found. So your diet is different than mine. Your diet is what serves you. So it's not just food, water, air we breathe. It's the conversations we participate in, it's our internal dialogue, it's the music and media we listen to. That's what the word diet actually means. So people ask me all the time, what's my diet? It's like, well, our diet's going to be a little bit different. If we're talking about nutrition, I eat a nutrient-dense diet. The other one I would say is the key pointer for everyone is take time to unplug, love yourself. Discipline is the most valuable form of self-love. And so when we take care of our body, when we turn off everything and just listen to nature, listen to the birds chirp, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and take a deep breath, that's truly what matters the most, is realizing that you are part of nature, that you're loved, and you have a lot of love for others.
Excellent. And what are 1 to 2 things people get absolutely wrong regarding longevity and a long health span?
All these amazing modalities, because you can't outrun bad fuel. So people are always asking me, what about methylene blue or the hyperbaric chamber? And those are all great, and they can be used in a pinch, but they don't replace nutrition. It's
Modalities instead of diet.
Yeah.
Excellent. Which is really way of life. Modality versus a way of life. I love that.
Yeah.
And Ryan, how can people contact you?
They can email me at ryan@my-holistic-hub.com. They can reach out on Instagram _holistic_hub or Facebook holistic-hub. You can go to my website, which is about the BioPhotonic Scanner. A lot of updates coming to that, which is holistichub.gethealthyusa.com. We have webinars, we have presentations, a lot more to come. This new device behind me will be a rebrand as the Prism, because we're looking at light, and it's going to have updates pushed to it over the next couple of years of your fat-soluble vitamins. So we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg with our mission to help everyone get on the right side of nutrition, fix your cellular health first, and then look at, go backwards from there.
And where can they find you at IG? I'm jotting this down.
_holistic_hub. I do get shadow banned from time to time, as health information is the most censored information on the planet. But a lot of that's changing right now. But I'm there talking about mental health, spiritual health, cellular health, all connected.
Excellent. And Ryan, what in the near future are you excited about?
Oh man, I just filmed a documentary that'll be out on Amazon Prime. It's called Shield, like the word she and healed pushed together. It'll be out this summer. I'll have a segment with my business partner, Dr. Steve Moore, which is Get Healthy USA. I'm really excited about the release of that and finally having a lot of reach. People need education and access. I'm excited about this new scanner coming out. We're having a lot of great conversations with some other influential doctors, influencers. We work with thousands of medical providers across every specialty, and we're just getting started. You mentioned A4M, American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. Our company's been there for 20 years, and now the founder, which is a cardio doc, is there presenting our stuff. I mean, we have a lot of nationally recognized clinical doctors, researchers that are starting to promote and use us, and it's getting a unified voice in there. It's not just about one doctor or one practitioner or one product. It's about the collective shift into nutrition first metrics and a easy, affordable way to measure that. So I'm excited to get the word out more and more and have more conversations like this with people like you, Chris, that are like-minded, that it's not just about ego. It's not just about one product. It's about, hey, let's shift everyone's perspective on nutrition. Let's get them out of this broken system, the hamster wheel. Let's get everyone feeling better about themselves. And we're all here to create something. My purpose is to create more education and access on health information, but get your health right. Because you can have 1,000 problems until you have one health problem. Then you have only one problem.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great mindset. All right. So you can find Ryan. Email Ryan at my-holistic-hub.com. Is that right? Or underscore?
That's me.
All right. Excellent. And then IG_holistic_hub. And then I think it was holistichub.gethealthyusa.com.
That's me.
Excellent. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Look forward to seeing you in Austin.
Yes, that'll be great. I'll get my 30-second scan.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Live Beyond the Norms podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow. Also, make sure not to be that guy, the guy sharing this podcast with people who are not interested in living beyond the norms. If you would like to learn more about the ESS60 molecule, the molecule responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, a full 90% extension of life, visit myvitalc.com. That's myvitalc as in carbon.com.